In 1984, I was wrongfully arrested and convicted of a crime that I didn't commit. It's a brutal murder of a 9-year-old little girl in Rosedale, Maryland. Savagely attacked, god awful crime. It was all based on witness identification from a man that they said was 6'5", curly blonde hair, bushy mustache, tan skin, and skinny. I have to tell you that I'm 6 foot tall. My hair in 1984 was as red as an apple in any orchard here in Delaware. It was just, I had sideburns down to here. And then the advent of new technology called DNA came out. We took the test. I was released in the summer of it'd be 20 years this summer in June of 1993. And 10 years later, the same DNA testing was put in a CODIS database, caught the real killer, and put him away for life. He was not 6'5". He was 5'6" and 160 pounds. You had 5 identification witnesses positively identified me as the person they saw. The prosecutor was one of the smartest people in Baltimore County. The police officers in this case were the smartest. 2 jury trials, and they were very smart and concerned citizens. But in the end, everybody was dead wrong. And that's why we don't need a death penalty in the United States. And I can happily say we just abolished it in the state of Maryland.
Were you instrumental in bringing that about?
I would have to say yes. I mean, I've been working on abolishing the death penalty in the state for many years, since not long after I got out. I worked for the moratorium campaign and talked to folks, talked to legislators. I'm from in and around this area. I grew up in a small town called Cambridge, Maryland. I just don't want this to happen to anybody else. And it can happen as easily as we breathe. There's been 142, and that's including myself, exonerated death row survivors in the United States. I work for an organization called Witness to Innocence, which is a organization that is comprised of and run by, and a third of its board are exonerated death row survivors. It's just too many in this country. I thought this was a rarity, myself at one time, but I found out that, you have to look at it this way. 1 out of every 8 to 10 executions, there's been an exoneration since 1976.
Are you speaking with any of the legislators here about?
I will be if they will see me, and I'd be glad to see them. It's like I always consider Delaware as my neighbor, and I want to tell the folks here, I've been coming to Delaware. I've been going across the Lewis Delaware Ferry since 1969 with my father, selling crabs and crab meat and oysters and stuff from Dewey Beach and Rehoboth, and going to the Apple Scrapple Festival, dirt race car. I worked on dirt race cars here in Georgetown, and this place is it's near and dear to my heart, and I would be amiss in my duties if I did not come here and at least tell y'all what I thought about this whole thing.
Now, some of the staunchest opponents of abolishing the death penalty here in Delaware are local law enforcement groups. One of the strongest arguments that they make is that it puts officers in greater danger. Does that argument to you hold water?
Well, I was, like I say, I was a Marine, and I was a military police officer, and so I know the dangers that the officer picks up when he puts his gun belt on in the morning and pins that badge on his chest. I mean, it's an obvious thing that they need to be protected. However, the death penalty does not save their life. I think it's something that we have to, when we sign up for that detail, it's something that could happen to either one of us when we walk out the door that day. I'm all for protecting police officers. If there's some other way we can put, in a better way, I'll be first one in line helping them out. But the death penalty doesn't protect them. It does not protect them one bit. It's their law enforcement, the people they're training, and that's what protects them, how they do their job. And from what I understand, and from all the people I know down this way, from the Delaware state troopers on down to the sheriff, do a fine job, and they need to be protected. And but the death penalty is not the way to do it.
Opponents of abolishing the death penalty will say that, well, in Delaware, the system works. We haven't had a case where someone has been exonerated who was sentenced to death.
Yeah, but what I would have to say to that is you don't know that. You don't know there's one pending right now, and you'd be surprised to find that Delaware probably does have it. I mean, I don't know exactly what your DNA laws are post-conviction wise and other things, but it's bound to happen. And if it, I keep saying this enough, if it can happen to an honorably discharged Marine, I had no criminal record whatsoever. Everybody in the world, in this case, believed that I was the one, and every one of them were wrong. And that's eventually going to happen. And if it hasn't already, you just don't know about it. I think the best punishment for these worst of the worst, as you call them, is something called accountability. If you take away their life, they're not going to be accountable anymore. If you really want to punish one of these bad boys, one of these people that you think worse and worse, you put him in a jail cell and you leave him there for the rest of his life. Two things will happen. He's going to be accountable for what he's done forever, because everybody else that's alive has to live with what they've done. We have to live with the crimes that are committed every day, and so should that person. The other thing is if you don't have a death penalty anymore, you cannot or will never execute an innocent person. People are murdered every day, and it's a horrible thing. But I think we need to rise above that fact and punish them the right way and put them away for life.
Do you feel like you're on the side of history that when we look back, we'll say that the death penalty was, a part of our past and really, will never be a part of our future again? Absolutely.
And we are telling ourselves that we are greater than the worst of our citizens that harm us. Mm-hmm. And I know that is a very noble thing to try to do, and it's a hard thing because somebody loses a family member or a murder victim gets killed or a police officer gets shot and killed in a performance of his duties. It's a terrible tragedy. But how big of a tragedy because we want to try to punish maybe just a minute few that commit murders in the state of Delaware and then possibly walk over an innocent person to do it. I think, that's I can just see it. It's racial disparity within the death penalty. It is cost a ton of money. It's jurisdictionally applied differently across the land. I have to say that I've studied the death penalty now for 28 years, and there's nothing good about it other than to see it disappear. I think Delaware would. It's going to be a good thing for the state at one time, and it'll put us say that we won't execute anyone if we have a chance of executing an innocent person. And I think in the final analysis, you cannot be sure enough when it comes to the death penalty. You might execute 100 guilty men, but it's just a matter of time that you're not going to be perfect. We cannot be perfect with the ultimate sentence.
So if you had a message you'd like to leave with the lawmakers here who are considering abolishing the death penalty, what would that be?
If it can happen to an honorably discharged former Marine with no criminal record or criminal history, it'll happen again. I just know it will. And, that's a greater risk. We sit here talking today and say that this does not work out, and that, and I hope they do abolish the death penalty here in the state of Delaware. It'll be too late. And I'll just intone this one remark that was made by the chairman of the board of witness to innocence. His name is Freddie Pitts, and he spent many years in Florida's death row, and he put it like this: you can free an innocent man from prison, but you cannot free him from the grave. And it'd be far too much of an apology, would be too weak of a thing. And when we can punish these individuals that are so-called bad boys in a better way, life without parole, put them in jail, and that'll be that.